After Sunday's video where we hauled Tangaroa out in Steveston, we got a ton of great questions. Everything from turbo size to whether we'll need new props for the Cummins and how she steers with that extended hull. In this episode of Your Questions Answered, we're taking the time to go through the details you asked about. So let's get started.
Hi guys, welcome back for this week's question and answer. You guys hopefully saw our last video where we hauled out and did the cruise over to Steveston. I know there wasn't a lot of technical stuff there for you guys, but still got a lot of good questions regarding stabilizers and the length of the extension on the back, propellers, so thanks for those. And also thanks for the top comment, so hang out for that one at the end. Definitely made me smile. So I'm just gonna get right into it. First question we had was, speaking about stability, and this was from Mivwent. Speaking about stability, could you use a gyro instead of ballast to stabilize the boat? We actually do have fin stabilizers on board. They do make the gyros as well. However, to refit a gyro in would be pretty expensive. So I doubt we'll be going that way. However, I would always prefer ballast, because if you should have a failure in your stabilizer system, the ballast is what's going to keep you upright. We actually used to work on a boat that depended a lot on its stability from the stabilizers rather than ballast, because it was built very tall and on a refit. It was never very comforting. So yes, I'd prefer to keep ballast if at all possible and just have the stabilizers for comfort. Okay, next question. We had Halfby ask, are you going to eat the mussels? No, we're not going to eat the mussels. They may be okay to eat, but bottom paint is pretty toxic, and I don't think I'd want to eat anything that was once attached to it. So I'm going to say hard pass on that one. Next question we've got from Bruce Clarkson, 7656. Do you have to replace or modify the props? And there was some other questions as well regarding the props. So we have a 29 inch by 32 inch, if I remember correct. So 29 inch diameter, 32 inch pitch. And fortunately, we did not have to replace them. They actually lined up perfectly with our transmission choice and the engines. We got lucky on that one. I would say probably usually you'd have to repitch, but you'll be able to see that in our future sea trial videos when we have the engines up and running. All right, next question we've got Timothy O'Brien, 1850. He asked, would you consider discussing how the boat handles with what appears to be quite a bit added after the props at some time in the past? Good question. We get this a lot. It's kind of a double-edged sword. For maneuverability, like when we're docking, it's phenomenal because the pivot point is a lot more central, so the boat actually pivots really well where they are. However, when you're underway, it's not quite as good. The boat is pretty sluggish for steering. And we actually had another question that kind of ties in with this one. Let me see if I can find it here. Would you do well to have some way bigger rudders? Any plans on that? And that was Brad K 8169. Yes, actually that was one of the projects that I wanted to tackle pretty much right away on the boat. The first time we were at the shipyard, it didn't happen. We didn't have the time. The second time didn't happen. We didn't have the time. But now I'm starting to put some thought into how to make that work. I've got some ideas ranging from altering the existing rudders to adding more rudder. We're going to probably have to figure that out, but I'd imagine you might see that in the not so distant future getting tackled. Had another question here from Ned Oliver 9145. He asked, how much horsepower do you think will take to turn those big alternators? Well, the alternators themselves are capable of 330 amps. I only run them at 150. So by calculations, you're looking at around, I'd say 4 and change horsepower per alternator. However, alternators are super inefficient. So the harder you push them, the more the RPM, the less efficient they become. I would imagine at 150 amps where I push them, probably looking closer to 8 horsepower, maybe a little bit less than that, because I think efficiency is around 60 to 65% at that point. So if you wanted 300 amps, probably double that. That's not going to be 100% accurate, but it'll get you in the ballpark. So we've got from Rich Nauer, for the hull speed of 8 to 12 knots, would diesel outboards be a candidate? For function, yes. However, I would say diesel outboards, while they may not be new, are not as tried and tested as diesel inboards. They do function. I actually had a really cool boat in the boatyard with us when we were there last time that ran diesel outboards. Whale watching boat, though, different application. But I'd always be a little bit concerned about longevity. Everything to do with the outboard, the engines are smaller, the gears are smaller, and considerably smaller. So I'd be a little bit nervous about that. But technically, yes, they would push the boat just fine. All right, next up, we've got Cody Swartz 997. What turbos are you running and why? That's actually a really good question. I went with a Borg-Warner S-Series turbo, so it's an S300 base turbo. A few reasons why I went with that. One, because they're dead simple. Two, they last really well. Three, they're really inexpensive compared to a water-cooled QSB turbo. And probably one of the most important is I actually sized that turbo specifically for these engines and the way that they push this boat. I wanted something that was going to provide boost down low as well, and I was less concerned about something that was going to make big power up top. So these turbos are actually a little bit smaller. They use really efficient compressor wheels, and I was able to bring the exhaust housing size down a little bit with a wastegated turbine housing to basically put that turbo in its peak efficiency ranges pretty much through the entire range that we'll be using them. So they were based around my configuration. So, good question. Mike McKay, 5269 asked, do you have to worry about using Coast Guard approved or Marine approved engine accessories, turbo, alternator, etc.? I'm not going to say that I have got a huge amount of knowledge on that aspect. However, from what I feel that I've pulled out of it, is that is not so much of an issue when you're dealing with a non-inspected vessel. We're not a commercial vessel, we don't do charters, so we're not bound by the same strict regulations. We still have to have all the safety items. If we were a gasoline-powered boat, we'd have to have spark arresters, things like that. But I believe there's a bit of flexibility on pretty much everything else when you're not an inspected vessel. Like I said, that's my take on it. If anybody else has got any info on that, please put it in the comments, but that's where I look at it. Next question is from Kevin David. Another question, what is your running boost at the cruise speed of 8 to 9 knots? I typically see at cruise around 7 to 8 PSI. So just enough to get a little bit more efficiency, keep the EGTs low. At full load, we're sitting at around 30 pounds of boost, but down low, it's enough to clean it up, just enough. Next question we have is from Vinny Gelati, 9347. Are there any videos of these engines and boat moving along? That's a good question, Vinny. We actually have a second channel. This one's devoted specifically to traveling and exploring. It's called Exploring the World on Board Tangaroa. Check it out if you want to see those. I don't think there's any pictures specifically of the engines running. However, there are videos there of the boat moving along. So you can check those out. And as far as the engine stuff, if you give us till the end of the repower, there'll definitely be some videos of that in there. Next question is from John IND 2290. Are you painting the top sides as well? No, we will not be painting the top sides. The kind of traveling that we're doing, we just want to enjoy the boat. We don't want to be maintaining paint everywhere. We're not going to boat shows. We're not out to impress everybody. We want minimal maintenance. And quite honestly, we like the look of the bare aluminum, so we will not be painting the boat again. Next question from Blackbeard Air. Swells? That's frickin' calm seas. Couple of things we need to touch on there. The camera never shows the actual size of the sea. You cannot tell. And no, they were not big ocean swells. That's not what we meant by that. What we meant was they were the perfect size and they were the perfect period to toss us around everywhere. Quite honestly, if we were in 10-foot swells in the ocean, we probably would have hardly moved at all because it wouldn't be the right period for us. But those those were perfect, and they were just enough to fling us around and make us rock all over the place. We actually get it here at anchor in the bay, just from having boats go by, and they're not big waves at all, but you get them from the right direction and the right period, and that's all it takes to make a rough crossing. Next question is from Mark Bond 6196. He says, Strait of Georgia, did we go off and rename another body of water? Well, not anytime recently. So basically, this was something that was done back in 2010, 11, somewhere in there. And they've renamed the whole area. So it's not just the Strait of Georgia, it's the Haro Strait, Strait of Georgia, some of the inland areas. All of those names that we have, like Strait of Georgia, they're still valid. It's just the entire area is called the Salish Sea. And that is in respect to First Nations, and it was agreed upon by government, First Nations, and there we have it. Couple of questions as well regarding power washing. Blue Boat 1 5653 said, is power washing not legal in your area? No, it's perfectly legal. I'm assuming it's not powerful enough to take the mussels off. So they scraped everything off first, and then after we were kind of situated, they came back and pressure washed the hull. Like I said, maybe it's just the effectiveness of the pressure washer, but they do pressure wash. And to kind of touch on the whole bottom thing, we're having issues with bottom paint, having trouble finding something effective. It's typically accepted that you don't use copper-based bottom paints with an aluminum boat. However, there are also plenty of people that say as long as you prep the bottom properly, you can use whatever you want on the bottom. So we're trying to find our sweet spot, but just to let you guys know, it's not something that we're just totally neglecting the bottom paint. It's not working well. Most of that growth was through the winter of that year, and we had a brutal winter. Lots of ice, cold water. Not many people super excited about going in the water to clean the bottom of the boat. So yeah, it's just we're having issues trying to find effective stuff there. So if anybody's got any ideas, let us know. All right, guys, and it's time for the top question of the week. We've got from Kevin David, after all the great engine work, would you change anything and why? Honestly, I don't think I would change anything. It seems to work great. The only reason why I would ever change anything is if I were to find something with a pretty large increase in efficiency. That's my whole thing. Unless I have a reason, I'm not going to go with something else. So yeah, we're happy with the way it's working, and I don't really see that changing.
If you haven't seen the video these questions came from, go check it out. We hauled Tangaroa out and showed it all. And make sure to subscribe because this Sunday we're getting ready to pull the Detroits.